When we have a list of fractions and decimals that we want to put in order, the first thing that you want to do is switch all of the fractions to decimals so that it's easier to compare them. So I'll write 1/3 as a decimal. Remember, thirds are repeater fractions. So 1/3 as a decimal is 0.3 repeating. And I'm just going to write out a few 3's before I put my dots for repeating, and that will help me when I'm lining up to my place values to compare the rest of the decimals. So now I've listed all my decimals so that all the place values are lined up and it's easier to compare them. There are some place values in these two numbers that aren't filled in. So just as a place value holder, I will fill in zeros in the empty place values of these two numbers. Now I'll look at the ones place to compare these numbers. There are zeros in all the ones places of these numbers. So now I'll move to the tenths place. There are 3's in all the tenths places of these numbers. So I have to move to the hundredths place in order to compare these. I have 3, 4, 0, 0 in the hundredths place. So I'm able to know that the greatest number is the one with the 4 in the hundredths place, so that would be fourth in order because we're going least to greatest. And then the second greatest number would be the one with the 3 in the hundredths place. I'm not able to tell which ones of these numbers are bigger based on the hundredths place value, so now I'll move to the thousandths place for these last two numbers to decide which is larger. I have a 3 and a 0 in the thousandths place. So this is the smallest number in the list, and then this is the second smallest number in the list. So using the original numbers from the list at the top, I have written these in order from least to greatest. I want to order these fractions and decimals from least to greatest, so the first thing I have to do is change the fractions to decimals in order to help me easier compare them. So 8/10 is written like this as a decimal, and 8/9, ninths is a repeater fraction, so that's written like this as a decimal. Now I'll line them all up in order to help me compare them easier, and I'll fill in any empty place values with zeros. I've lined up all the decimals and all the numbers in the ones and the tenths place are the same, so I've moved to the hundredths place in order to compare these. I have a 1, 0, 0, and an 8, so I know the largest number in my list, the fourth one, would be this one, and the second largest would be this one. But now I have zeros in the hundredths place value of these two numbers, so I'll move to the thousandths place to help compare the last two ones. I have a 0 and I have an 8. So the smallest number in this list would be this one, and then the next smallest would be this one. So here I have listed the numbers from the original list in order from least to greatest.